Welcome back to Nonsense, I'm Chris, and Rick and Morty are spinning off into President Curtis, the new show, which will be premiering directly after the Rick and Morty season finale, and I'll definitely be breaking it down because the trailer alone is enough to hook me. A lot of people are comparing it to Inside Job, which I definitely agree, and a great show to be compared to. Everyone was surprised when it got canceled, and God, hopefully this doesn't share the same fate, but it's definitely going to be like a monster/conspiracy of the week, the same way Inside Job was, but it's going to be Dan Harmon's take, which should help it feel a little more cohesive story-wise. So let's jump into the trailer, which opens on President Curtis himself, aka Andre Curtis, in a damn near perfect recreation of the White House press briefing room, down to the same lights and stage setup. They make a joke out of Keith David's beautiful voice before starting a compilation of monster fights, starting with him driving something pretty reminiscent of the Batmobile through a secret tunnel and through a monster worm, then driving a motorcycle off what I assume is the Loch Ness Monster in order to throw dynamite in its throat. Feels like a weak explosive for the president to be using. Then using an exosuit against what is clearly Mothman. That's two different conspiracy theories already. We then meet Agent O'Doyle, one of the main characters voiced by Jim Rash, following Dan Harmon over from Community, who is the only character in the show I've seen so far to break the normal Rick and Morty pupil animation style, in exchange for more of a serpent-like set of eyes. When they switch perspectives, we see this is happening in the press briefing room from earlier, and he meets another of the main characters, Banks, who's the president's new chief of staff and is voiced by the very talented Stephanie Beatriz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She does a really unnatural voice for herself as Rosa on that show compared to her normal voice.
I've only had Arlo for a day and a half, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
January, February is when they're casting all the new shows and television.
And she's doing a whole other type of voice here.
I'm Banks. I'm the new chief of staff.
She's got range. Banks seems to be some kind of cyborg, with the cool streaks in her hair actually being wires for connecting to various systems. O'Doyle is carrying Curtis in the next shot, I assume to safety? This guy either has a TV for a head or got his head smashed into one because it moves with his body, but we don't get another perspective, so I can't say for sure. Banks monologues about O'Doyle having a sketchy past as we see all his tattoos, which seems to be a combination of prison tats and like magic tats that maybe give him some kind of ability. A hand in a flame, a goat, a sword through an eye. For a second, we see his file is stamped paranormal perp, so it's definitely a paranormal focused show, and he's clearly the reformed one who's now one of the good guys. Classic stuff, very white collar. Anyways, Banks calling him on being a perp makes his eye twitch before we cut to Curtis, and I think Kamala Harris breaking a door down? Then the team running out of a giant safe with old-timey films inside. Very curious what's in those. Then them literally fighting a Sharknado, which is hilarious. Banks tasing someone, then some kind of robot with a malfunctioning red eye attacking someone. In the next shot, we see more, and based on the outfits and the environment, I'd actually guess this is like a robot The Shining deal. Dan Harmon loves mixing parodies together, so it makes sense. Banks complains O'Doyle is relaxing, another shot of the president and I believe Kamala. Pretty nondescript cave here. This is the same bug he drives through with the president mobile at the beginning. I assume this is the rat from earlier, and they've shrunk down, which obviously reminds us of this.
Task Force Alpha, prepare to shrink.
If those pills are based on subatomic compression, you could get a more curable cancer just walking through the mushroom clouds. Whoa.
You two aren't American anymore.
I can say that. You're expatriated. If you step foot on homeland soil again, I'll treat it as an invasion.
Such lame shrinking.
His clothes stay the same size?
Eat my shrinking ass!
Apparently one of the reporters in the press briefing room we keep seeing goes full feral demon, to which the president says,
Gobble gobble!
I don't get the connection, but obviously feels like a reference to this Thanksgiving episode. Then another storm, but this time they're fighting the sandworms from Dune. Banks skydives with green cyborg eyes, cheesy sci-fi gun held by a guy with cool red hair. They parody the old school road crossing games as Encryption. Then we see what I assume is the president's garage, where he has a transformer looking thing, one of these things from Star Wars, the Akira bike, a mini jet, a DeLorean. Is time travel allowed in this show? And something under a tarp, not sure. But the Knight Rider car parody drives out to pick them up. We cut back to that prison scene with Curtis kicking a dummy this tentacle guy is holding up back into its cell, I guess. Obviously a jailbreak episode. O'Doyle lands a tire shot while sprinting, which I assume he has like dark magic aiming abilities. We see the tire belong to a van labeled CIA Vans, which is funny. Curtis flying a helicopter while talking to these guys. Now I think this guy is their science guy. What's this guy got on his neck? Love this coffee cup. They run through some tunnel and O'Doyle uses some kind of brain ability. They get chased by more robots, so maybe they broke out of The Shining. Curtis fighting a werewolf. O'Doyle in prison, I assume before the breakout scene, getting into a fight. The werewolf turning in front of Curtis. They look at a map of the Louisiana Purchase. I have literally no clue what this guy could be, but he catches Curtis pouring gasoline everywhere, and it's kind of funny. Then they make some condom jokes at this orphaned child's expense, and that's it for the trailer. There's also a promo they did with actual Rick and Morty. They play old interdimensional cable bits in between the talking for no reason whatsoever, so I'm not going to break that down. But here are the boys trying to sell you on the show.
I killed Paul Bunyan today.
Damn, doggy! He's out there doing his own thing!
I guess he does, like, X-Files stuff.
I'll say this much to anyone who thinks they're taller than the law. Timber, bitch. Questions?
Not for me!
I'm sold!
The first episode is called Pilot, and as usual, it'll probably just be used to set up the dynamic in a transition stage, as all shows tend to start with. But the other episode titles offer some clues. Bad Santa sounds like an Amazing Santa episode, taking some inspiration from Futurama, maybe. Bank's Mind, obviously a character episode. Camp David is a real location presidents frequent on their time off while in office. Curious what they do with that. X could be a lot of stuff. Fort Knox, another real location they'll be building. That's always fun. Hollow Earth, which is a real conspiracy. Louisiana Purchase, who knows what they'll do with that, but it explains the map. Paul Bunyan, I assume as a monster guy. And lastly, Triangle, obviously the Bermuda Triangle. The show is honestly very well set up to succeed, with a great set of voice actors, a solid creative team, and a lot of the same animators. Plus, they seem to be drawing the heartbroken fan base of Inside Job. I know the other proper spin-off the show didn't do well. I loved it personally, but it objectively flopped. Hopefully President Curtis stands on its own 2 feet more, since it's actually using Rick and Morty the characters. Either way, I'll be here to break down the new episodes every week, so make sure to subscribe. If you notice anything I missed, please leave it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.